They fired me after 20 years of running the store. Then their shelves went empty. They do not need you anymore, Ellen. You are not part of the new vision. That is what the regional manager told me after 20 years of keeping Harper's hardware running like clockwork. My name is Ellen Monroe, 52 years old, head clerk at Harper's Hardware in Burlington, Vermont. For 2 decades I would been the heart of that store, stocking shelves, fixing orders, knowing every customer by name, keeping the place alive through floods and recessions. No inventory errors, no customer complaints, not a single day the doors did not open on time. My reward, a pink slip, a 2-week severance, and a corporate handshake that felt colder than a February wind. It was a Monday morning in March, the air still sharp with winter, when I got the call to meet Tanya Ellis, the new regional manager for Pinnacle Retail, the conglomerate that bought Harper's 6 months ago. I walked into the back office, past the shelves I would organized for years, to find Tanya sitting at my desk, her laptop open and a stack of folders beside her. She was maybe 30, all sharp suits and sharper smiles, fresh from some MBA program. Ellen, we are streamlining operations, she said, not looking up from her screen. Your role has been phased out. We are bringing in a new team to align with our brand. She slid a termination letter across the desk, the Pinnacle logo glaring at the top. Details are here. HR will handle your exit. 20 years, I said, my voice steady but my hands gripping the chair. No stockouts, no losses. Customers who drive 50 miles to shop here. You are sure? Tanya tapped her pen, her eyes flicking to her laptop. It is not personal. It is efficiency. Our new clerk, Brandon, starts tomorrow. He has got digital inventory experience. I scanned the letter. 2 weeks' pay, a non-compete clause, a line about transition assistance that meant nothing. Efficiency? I repeated, standing. Good luck with that. Tanya's smile did not waver as I walked out, the door clicking shut behind me. I would started at Harper's in my early 30s, a single mom fresh off a divorce, needing a job to keep my son Caleb fed. Old man Harper hired me on the spot, said I had a knack for people. I learned every nut, bolt, and paint can in that store, memorized supplier catalogs, built relationships with contractors and hobbyists alike. By 40, I was head clerk, running the place like it was my own. I knew which farmers needed bulk fencing in spring, which plumbers swore by a specific pipe wrench, how to spot a bad batch of screws before they hit the shelves. Caleb grew up in that store, doing homework in the break room, now off at college studying engineering. After Harper died in 2019, his kids sold the store to Pinnacle. I stayed, thinking I could keep the soul of the place alive. Pinnacle had other plans. They rolled in with automation buzzwords, replaced our local suppliers with cheaper overseas vendors, cut staff hours, and pushed self-checkout kiosks nobody wanted. Tanya's predecessor, a guy named Greg, at least listened when I warned about quality issues, shoddy tools breaking, late deliveries, customers grumbling. But Tanya, she saw me as a relic, someone who did not get her dashboards and algorithm. We are a data-driven operation now, Ellen, she told me at her first staff meeting. I nodded, but I started keeping notes, every bad shipment, every customer complaint, every time I had to fix her system's mistakes. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, the termination letter beside a mug of coffee gone cold. My apartment was small, filled with photos of Caleb and shelves I would build myself. I called my friend Marla, a retired cashier who had worked with me for 15 years. They fired me, I said, my voice catching. Replaced me with some kid who probably cannot tell a hex bolt from a nail. Marla cursed. You gonna fight it? Not sure how, I admitted. But I am not letting them ruin Harper's. I pulled out my notebook, filled with months of records, supplier issues, inventory errors, Tanya's ignored emails. Something told me I would need them. The next day, I went to the store as a customer just to see. Brandon, the new clerk, was all smiles and gelled hair, tapping at a tablet while a line of customers waited. "System is down," he told a plumber named Joe who needed a specific valve. "Try back tomorrow." Joe caught my eye, shaking his head. Ellen would have had this in 2 minutes. I smiled tightly and left, but not before snapping a photo of empty shelves where our best tools used to be. Pinnacle is efficiency was already unraveling. Harper was not just a store. It was Burlington backbone. Contractors relied on us for same-day supplies. Homeowners trusted us for advice. Schools called us for last-minute paint for art projects. I would spent years building that trust, negotiating with suppliers like McAllister is in Montpelier to prioritize us, teaching staff like Tommy, our part-time stalker, how to spot inventory gaps. Pinnacle did not get it. They thought a tablet could replace 20 years of know-how. Tanya's first move was to switch to a single supplier, Global Trade, whose cheap tools broke fast and whose deliveries were late half the time. I would warned her in a memo, "Global Trade delays will cost us customers." She would replied, "Our data says otherwise." The data was wrong. Over the next week, I kept tabs. Marla, still friends with Tommy, told me stockouts were piling up screws, missing paint cans mislabeled, customers walking out. I drove by and saw the parking lot half empty, a far cry from the bustling Saturdays I would run. I started calling old customers, guys like Joe the plumber and Sarah, who owned a landscaping business. "How is Harper treating you?" I asked. Joe snorted. "It is a mess. That kid does not know a thing, and the shelves are bare." Sarah said she would switch to a competitor in Essex. "Hate to do it, Ellen, but I cannot wait 3 days for sod staples." I logged every complaint, every lost sale, every time Brandon fumbled. I also dug into Pinnacle's operations. Years of dealing with suppliers had taught me how to read contracts and spot red flags. I pulled public records on Global Trade, late shipments, quality violations, even a fine from the state for mislabeling hazardous materials. I emailed McAllister, is our old supplier, and confirmed they would been willing to match Pinnacle's prices, but were never asked. Tanya had lied about cost savings. I saved every email, every document, building a file labeled, "Harper is Truth." If Pinnacle wanted to play dirty, I would play smarter. Brandon lasted 2 weeks before the cracks showed. Tommy texted me one night, "Big order for the high school got botched. Wrong paint. Late delivery. Principal is furious." I called the principal, Mrs. Carter, a regular customer. "Heard you had trouble," I said. "What happened?" She sighed. "Harper sent latex instead of oil-based. And it was 3 days late. We had to delay the theater renovation." I apologized, though it was not my fault. "Mind putting that in writing?" I asked. She did, and I added it to my file. The school was one of Pinnacle's biggest accounts. Losing them would hurt. I met Tommy and Marla at a diner on the edge of town, away from Pinnacle's cameras. "It is worse than you think," Tommy said, sliding me a USB drive. Ingued logs, supplier emails, Tanya's orders to ignore complaints. I plugged it into my laptop. The files showed Global Trade failures, 70% late deliveries, 30% defective products, on Tanya's directive to prioritize optics over quality. One email from her boss, a Pinnacle VP named Randall, read, "Customer churn is acceptable if margins hold." They were betting on short-term profits over long-term loyalty. Why risk this? I asked Tommy. He shrugged. "You taught me this store matters. And my sister is a teacher at the high school. That paint fiasco hit her kids." I knew Pinnacle's game. They would gut Harper's, squeeze every dollar, then sell it off or close it when customers bailed. Burlington could not afford to lose its hardware hub. I needed leverage, something to hit Pinnacle where it hurt, their bottom line. I called Joe, Sarah, and a dozen other regulars, asking them to document their issues with Harper, is late orders, bad tools, poor service. Most sent emails or texts, their frustration clear. I also reached out to a contact at the Vermont Department of Consumer Affairs, a guy named Paul I would met when Harper is won a community award. I have got evidence of supplier misconduct at Harper is, I told him. Interested. He was. Send me what you have got. If it is solid, we will audit. The audit was my ace, but I needed more. I met with McAllister is owner, Diane, at her warehouse. Pinnacle is killing Harper is, I said, showing her my logs. If I can get you back as a supplier, can you deliver like before? She nodded. We never wanted to lose you, Ellen. Your orders kept us steady. I asked her to draft a proposal matching global trade is prices, but with better terms. Same-day delivery, quality guarantees. She did, and I tucked it away. My plan was forming. Expose Pinnacle is failures, bring back McAllister is, and save Harper is. At 4 weeks, the store was a ghost town. Tommy reported daily, shelves empty, Brandon overwhelmed, Tanya blaming everyone but herself. I kept collecting evidence, photos of bare aisles, customer complaints, even a health violation notice when Global Trade sent mislabeled solvents. I sent it all to Paul at Consumer Affairs, anonymized to protect Tommy. This is enough for an unannounced inspection, Paul said. We are moving next week. I thanked him, my heart racing. Pinnacle would not know what hit them. Then came the legal threat. A letter from Pinnacle is lawyers arrived accusing me of defaming the company and interfering with operations. They demanded I cease contact with customers and suppliers or face a lawsuit. I called my cousin Lisa, a paralegal in Montpelier. She read the letter and laughed. It is a scare tactic, Ellen. You are sharing public info and customer feedback, not trade secrets. They have got nothing. Still, she warned me to be careful. Corporate types like this do not play nice. I nodded, but I was not backing down. I would spent 20 years building Harper is. They were not taking it without a fight. The Consumer Affairs audit hit like a storm. Inspectors swarmed. Harper is checking inventory, supplier records, safety compliance. Tanya scrambled to cover up, but Tommy said the logs were a mess. Global trade is failures were undeniable. Paul called me after. You were right. Mislabeled chemicals, defective tools, and a dozen violations. We are fining Pinnacle and ordering a supplier review. It was not enough to sink them, but it was a start. I sent Diane's proposal to Mrs. Carter at the high school, copying the town is Chamber of Commerce. This is what Harper is, could be again, I wrote. Reliable, local, quality. Mrs. Carter replied, we are pulling our account unless things change. I took a risk and emailed Brandon, asking to meet at the diner. He looked exhausted, his tablet nowhere in sight. The store is falling apart, he admitted over coffee. Tanya is blaming me, but the system is rigged. Suppliers do not deliver, customers hate us. They gutted what worked, I said. Those logs you are keeping, save them. Every late shipment, every complaint, protect yourself. He nodded, hesitant. They will fire me if I talk. Maybe, I said, but you will sleep better knowing you tried. I left him my number, hoping he would come around. The breaking point came 6 weeks after my firing. A major contractor, Burlington Builders, canceled a $50,000 order after Global Trade, sent faulty drywall screws that stripped under pressure. Joe texted me, they lost the biggest client in town. Store is dead. That night, my phone rang. It was Tanya, her voice tight. Ellen, we are in trouble? The store is hemorrhaging customers, and the audit is killing us. Can you consult? I leaned back, the termination letter still on my table. You fired Tommy too, I said. He would have caught those screws. She sighed. Name your terms. $300 an hour, I said. My team, Tommy, Marla, and I, full control of suppliers. And I want all inventory records unedited. She paused, then agreed. Be here tomorrow. I walked into Harper's the next morning, past shelves I would once stocked, now half bare. Tanya was in her office, Randall on speakerphone barking orders. Brandon hovered, looking defeated. I gathered Tommy and Marla in the stockroom. We are fixing this, I said, but we do it my way. Tommy grinned, already pulling old supplier lists. Marla started calling customers, apologizing, for Pinnacle is mess. I sent an email to Pinnacle is board chi, would to Consumer Affairs and the Chamber of Commerce, attaching my evidence. Global trade is failures, Tanya is directives, the audit findings. This is why Harper is dying, I wrote. Here is how to save it. I included Diana's proposal from McAllister is. Tanya caught me as I hit send. You cannot do that, she snapped, her face pale. It is done, I said. You want the store back? Listen to me. It took a week to stabilize things. I brought back McAllister is restocked critical items and trained Brandon on the basics, how to check shipments, how to talk to customers like people, not data points. Customers trickled back, Joe and Sarah among them. Knew you would fix this, Joe said, clapping my shoulder. I smiled, but my eyes were on the bigger fight. The Chamber of Commerce, led by Mrs. Carter, threatened to blacklist Pinnacle unless they overhauled Harper is. Consumer Affairs slapped Pinnacle with $200,000 in fines and mandated a supplier switch. Tanya was reassigned to a desk job in Pinnacle is Ohio office, a corporate demotion. Randall called me into a video meeting. You have made your point, Ellen, he said, his tone clipped. We are restructuring the store. Want to manage it? Name your salary. I shook my head. I am not your employee. $300 an hour, 3 days a week. My team stays and we use local suppliers. Take it or lose Burlington. He grimaced, but nodded. Deal. I did not go back for Pinnacle. I went for Joe, Sarah, Tommy, Marla, the customers who deserved a store that worked. For Burlington, a town that needed its hardware heart. By Monday, the shelves were full. McAllister's trucks rolling in on time. Tommy was rehired, Marla took over customer relations, and Brandon started listening, his tablet gathering dust. The high school renewed its contract, and Burlington Builders placed a new order. Pinnacle's board implemented my supplier model across their Northeast stores. A quiet admission I would been right. 6 months later, I stood behind the counter, ringing up a sale for a kid building a birdhouse. The store hummed, customers chatting, shelves stocked with tools you could trust. Marla caught my eye, nodding. Feels like Harper is again. I nodded back. That night, I got a text from Brandon. Saved those logs. Thanks for the push. I did not reply. He would, learned, just like Pinnacle had. I looked at my notebook, now a record of a fight won, and tucked it away. Harper was back, and I would made sure it would stay that way. Never underestimate the person who knows every bolt in the store.